Hi YouTube. So even though I'm sick, I still want to share some information with you guys. It's mostly just my throat, really, congestion and stuff. Makes it a little hard to talk, I noticed today on the phone at work. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So it was a little tough, but cause I'm calling people and letting them know that like Prescriptives is closing and stuff, so that was interesting. But again, book review. I read this book. It's called Marked. It's a House of Night novel. The House of Night is a sort of preparatory school for vampires. And they spell vampire V-A-M-P-Y-R-E instead of like vampire I-R-E. And by they, I do mean the two people who wrote this book. It's written by a mother-daughter duo, PC Cast and Kristin Cast. And I actually read this book on the recommendation of one of y'all, my YouTube viewers. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan. And that's just personal opinion. And I'll tell you why. Little bit more teeny bopperish than what I'm looking for. I'm not quite into like the like older, mature stuff too much. Like I mentioned my Distant Shores book review by Kristin Hannah, but this is still a little young for me. It is in the youth section of my library, and it was also weird. I mean, yes, vampire stories are weird, but this one was a little too like magic-y and witchy and stuff for me. So let me explain. Well, let me read the back first, and then I'll get into it. So, enter the dark, magical world of the House of Night. A world very much like our own, except here, vampires have always existed. 16-year-old Zoe Redbird has just been marked as a fledgling vampire and joins the House of Night, a school where she will train to become an adult vampire. That is, if she makes it through the change, and not all of those who are marked do. It sucks to begin a new life, especially away from her friends, and on top of that, Zoe is no average fledgling. She has been chosen as special by the vampire goddess Nyx, N-Y-X. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I think it is. I mean, it's kind of like the makeup. It's going all funky over here. Sorry, it looks more normal in real life. Not that I really care what I look like. Obviously, I took my makeup and stuff off, and I'm just like, bleh. Anyways, back to this. Zoe discovers she has amazing powers, but along with her powers come bloodlust and an unfortunate ability to imprint her human ex-boyfriend. To address her stress, she is not the only fledgling at the House of Night with special powers. To add to her stress, she is not the only... When she discovers that the leader of the Dark Daughters, the school's most elite group, is misusing her goddess-given gifts, Zoe must look deep within herself for the courage to embrace her destiny, with a little help from her new vampire friends. So I feel like this is, like Harry Potter for vampires, but with a girl, and a little bit more dirty. So yeah, they're at like a finishing school, becoming vampires, like Harry Potter becomes a wizard, basically. Although they have some of the abilities, and their body's already changing into becoming a vampire. The weird things about this book, right off the bat, that I found odd, is some of the language used. They talk about, pardon me, blowjobs in it quite a bit, actually, which must have been interesting for the daughter writing this with the mother. But they address the fact that, like, somewhere in here they're like, oh, you know, even though adults don't think we know what that is, or what, like, oral sex is, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. They talk about it, though. It's just weird to mention a lot. Like, they're obsessed. The next thing I found weird was, even though like in Harry Potter books they have weird names like Hagrid, Hermione, McGonagall, Dumbledore, things like that, I personally found those less odd than some of the names in this book, which were really frustrating. And yes, there's the Aphrodite name in here, but then there's Neferet, and then there's some like names I can't even pronounce. Persephone I can pronounce, yeah. But they have like these 3 girls who are like evil, and they have really like weird names. It tells where they derive their names from, but they're just weird. And then there's Lenobia. And I know a lot of these are like derived from like ancient, powerful women and things like that, but for me, I'm not so into that. I mean, I am and I'm not. The names throw me off. The next thing is there's a little bit of Cherokee Indian sort of rituals that are described in this book a bit. I don't think they're accurate, but like all of it. But Redbird is her last name. Her grandmother has Cherokee heritage, and so they do some sort of out-of-body experience where, because of her ancestry, she like connects with things better. And then there's also weird vampire rituals which seem more like magical, like it's a TV show, Charmed. It seems more like that, where they like I don't see vampires doing this, but it's me, where they stand, they make a circle with like candles, and they do their thing, and they call the spirits forth, and I'm like, it's kind of witchcrafty. I mean, I'm nothing against witchcraft, but it was just like, I don't put the 2 and 2 together, vampires and witchcraft stuff. The only book that I feel like does that decently is that True Blood series, because they keep them separate. This puts it together. It's weird. So yeah, I finished it. I read it. I read it pretty fast, but I just, priestess and goddess marks and markings and stuff. And there were a lot of words like I can't even pronounce it, but her Cherokee, her grandmother spoke in Cherokee, which, I'm assuming these are pretty accurate, but I don't know. And it says, no, Yui Tisage Husta. And it's like long, and it takes up space. I'm like, I don't feel like that's so necessary. Like, I really don't think that part of it really was necessary at all. That side of it kind of just added to it. And then, one of the things I did kind of like, I'm like, ooh, I don't like it, but I do, is that in this book, they allude to, well, if you don't make it as a vampire, if your body like doesn't accept the change, you die. You either become a vampire or you die once you've been marked. And a couple of kids died in this book, and they describe how people go on with their everyday lives, they start getting used to it, but then like she sees the ghost of these 2 dead kids, but they're not really ghosts. So, and one of them wants to attack her. Then they don't really close that section up in the book, and it leads you to believe that they're gonna, focus on that in the next part of the series. Which at first you're like, ooh, I wish I would known what happened, but then like, smart. Now I'm gonna have to read the next book. So I actually do kind of like that. So yeah, I feel like if you are a youth, it's worth looking into. Check out the first book, and then if you get that weird feeling like I kind of did, like I'm like, not so into that witchcrafty stuff mixed with the vampire stuff, maybe it's not the series for you, but if you read it and you're like, whoa, this is awesome, hey, you found a new cool vampire book. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of opinion review, and I look forward to sharing more stuff with you guys very soon. See ya.